Sounds good.
How's it going, everyone? Nico here with the Wooden Spoon. We have another episode of The Sit Down, and I am joined by another very, very special guest. He is an actor from New Jersey. You've seen him in The Family with DeNiro, Collateral Beauty with Will Smith, and one of my favorite comedies of all time, Beer League, where he had a 700 batting average. We've got Jimmy Palumbo. How's it going, Jimmy?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Not that much. Dude, before we even get started, I have to say how big of a fan I am of Beer League. It's like one of like the top, like it's like one of those movies I go back to like all the time just to like watch it and
Well, there's
give.
certainly a certain age group and locality. If you're an East Coast kind of guy and you play a little ball, or you're Italian, these ball breakers that are out there playing. That's how it started. You know what the ball breaking that goes on
Oh my
in a
God.
weekly event, whether it's darts, bowling, softball, it's all the same thing. And a couple of beers, you have a few laughs, you get older, you tend to really know these guys. So
Yeah,
it
everyone's
was
got like
a lot of fun to do.
everyone's got their friend group and it's like just it's like the perfect like movie for the boys, I guess.
Yeah, it is definitely a guy's guy movie.
For sure. For sure,
I
for
mean,
sure. Yeah. Yeah, but how have you been doing, man? How's your 2020, 2021 been?
well, a lot of the stand-up gigs went away, and a lot of production stopped. So I haven't been auditioning nearly as much. It's starting to pick up a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, I was blessed to book a few things right before the pandemic. I booked a few things during, so I got to work on a pandemic set with the masks and this, that, and the other thing. That was intense,
I can
and
imagine.
it was good. I mean, but it was rough. It was good for
Hmm.
that, but it's it's just been a rough year.
I
And I
can
think
imagine, man.
I'm one of the millions who feel that way. So my
For
life's
sure,
no
for
different
sure.
than
So
anybody else's. It's just
what's it like working on a pandemic set? Are you getting like tested like every day? Is there a bubble or
what they do is you usually get tested. Um, well, it depends on when you work in the week. You got to get
Mhm.
tested the 3 day test. You got to get tested like 2 or 3 days before,
Yeah.
and then when you get to the set, you get tested. Uh, they do the quick test, and you got to stay in the
Okay.
trailer until that clears, and then you're good to go. But crew people get tested, I believe, twice a week constantly.
Oh
So
wow, yeah.
the crew's constantly being tested. So I've been tested for COVID quite a bit,
I could
but
imagine.
now I'm double vaxxed. So
Nice.
um, that's cool.
Yeah, man.
So are you
And then
vaxxed yet?
I am not. I'm not. I guess I'm just
So you
we'll wait and see. Yeah.
well, you're
If it
young, but you just stay in your basement there. Don't come out till it's all
Yeah, I
over. All
know.
right.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, so just working away. Then you recently started a podcast too, right?
Yeah, I started actually. I got inspired by some people. I always wanted to do it, and so I started one called the Jimmy Palumbo Show,
Awesome.
which is on like Apple Podcasts and Spotify,
Hmm.
wherever they have all that stuff. And that's been going well. It's been a lot of fun. Um, I was able to get some cool people on the show, some friends, and to get the thing going. But right around the same time, kind of by accident, I started this other podcast called the Interlocking NYs.
Okay.
And it's about baseball. My host Rick Antonori is a Met fan. I'm a Yankee fan, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's different than the Jimmy Palumbo show. It's more about
Hmm.
the underbelly of baseball. We interview people that are coaching, agents in baseball, so you really get a little periphery of
Oh, it's very
baseball, and you
cool.
learn about, like, we interviewed the single A coach of the Mets, batting coach. That was
Mhm.
cool. We interviewed a guy who trains catchers. Where if your kid's like, say, I don't know, in college or sophomore or junior in high school,
Mhm.
and he's got a shot at being a decent catcher, you go to this guy's camp and it's intense. And we interviewed just an agent, which was cool, and he was explaining to how being an agent works with baseball, and it was a lot of fun. We also do a segment called uh, "What the heck happened to What the heck happened to that guy?" And we each one of us chooses a really like a Met or Yankee from like 20 years ago or
Mhm.
15 years ago that only a real fan would remember.
Yeah.
And we really picked up some no all-stars, like no Derek Jeters or anything else like
Yeah.
that. So, and we're having a lot of fun with it. And then we were able to get, sometimes after we talked about them on the following week, we got them as a guest,
Oh,
which
so
was
cool.
cool. So we do that. And but the Jimmy Palumbo show has been fun. It's just me and a microphone and kind of what you're doing here, and
Mhm.
it's all audio only. And I just go, I just kind of talk. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I think it's starting to get some traction. So I'm happy about it. I'm starting to grow. And
Very cool.
who knows? Someday, who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. I know I saw you had Mike Marino on.
Yeah. Mike Reno came on, an old friend of mine, stand up. We had a lot of laughs, and I had guy Mark DiCarlo. I had Mark Wahlberg, the guy who hosts Antique Roadshow, and he's the host of Temptation Island. And
Cool.
Dominic Lombardozzi, a bunch of people like
Awesome.
that.
Very
So
cool.
it's
Yeah, I know. I love Mike Marino. I've had him on my show. I was on his show. He's a great guy.
yeah, he's big into the whole Italian thing. Jersey
Yeah.
Italian. I'm
For
half
sure.
Irish, but mostly Italian. I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, tell me about like was it like your mom Italian or your dad
My
Italian?
my dad's full Italian. Was he passed away a couple years ago,
Sorry
and
about that.
no problem. And um, my mother is Irish, but also a little bit of English, French
Mhm.
Canadian, stuff like that. So I got really, it's like Irish. Really, I always consider myself half Irish, half Italian,
Yeah.
or half Italian, half Irish.
Yeah.
On,
Deadly mix.
what aunts and uncles I'm visiting. I have like very Irish cousins, and I have very Italian cousins. So
I bet.
it's a nice mix. I think my mother was the first Irish into the DNA pool, though, in my father's family, which is pretty wild.
Really?
So yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I think we couldn't really figure out any other Irish people in there, so pretty cool.
I'm sure that ruffled some feathers initially. So
Oh yeah, she told me some of the ants were a little bit like, oh, who's this Irish lady? But my mother won them over because she was adorable and funny. And
I
sweet,
bet.
so
Awesome.
and they were married for 56 years or something like that.
Oh
so
wow, good
whatever.
for them.
Yeah. So my mother's still around though.
Mhm.
She'll probably listen to this. Hi,
Oh,
mom.
great. Awesome. How you doing, Mrs. Palumbo? Yeah. So, are you like born and raised in Jersey, right?
Yeah, grew up in Colonia, New Jersey, and went to Colonia High School. Then went to Rutgers, and then started working for some different companies. I started working for like computerware, and I ended up at Microsoft, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I actually had like $3,000 worth of Microsoft stock in 1990. And if I just would have hung on to that, literally, like, put the piece of paper in a drawer, I would have been worth like, well, into the millions.
Yeah.
But
Oh my God.
I cashed it in because I'm a genius.
Mhm.
I cashed it in for about 7 car payments on my Honda Civic.
Hey,
So
you
that
got to
was
do what you
another
got
one
to
of
do.
my brilliant financial moves. And then I ended up I became a substitute teacher in Woodbridge, and then I auditioned for some community theater plays. I got the acting bug, and the rest is history, as they say.
That's so cool. I know. I love hearing like just like the process of like becoming someone like in entertainment or like just like kind of doing what you love. So like, what were some of the first roles that you've ended up getting?
Well,
To
let
like
me be,
where you said like, okay, this is like something that is gonna be able to like support me.
well, support me. Well, I always wanted to maybe do it, but I was actually like too afraid, really.
Mhm.
Um, and but I ended up auditioning. I did well on my first, I don't know, 5 or 6 non-paying, non-revenue generating
Mhm.
auditions. My first audition, I booked a role in a community theater play with some heavy hitters. This woman director, Mary McGinley. Hi, Mary, if you're listening. She took a chance on me. I didn't know anything. Never been in a
Mhm.
play in my life, and I wasn't that young either. I was like 23, a couple of years after Rutgers, and but I went to Rutgers as a regular student, journalism
Mhm.
major, Kappa Sig and all that stuff, and loved it there. Huge Rutgers fan, football and
Mhm.
basketball. But I auditioned for this play, and then I auditioned for another community theater play. And then I decided to, someone said, you got to get headshots. And so I got that. And then I started going to the city. And then I started to, I don't know. I got a little lucky, I think, in the beginning. I didn't strike out really. I mean, I struck out plenty times since, but in the beginning, I booked just enough to go like, oh, maybe I can do this. And so I ended up in this improv group, started hanging around with Artie Lang, who I'm sure you know. And we started doing sketch comedy. And that really, after that, my first booking money-wise was Spin City with Michael J. Fox,
Okay.
which was on ABC at the time. That was a big one.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started auditioning for TV and film. I always did a lot of voiceovers. I got a nice raspy voice. So
Yeah, I was going to say, like, perfect for
Yeah.
podcasting and radio and everything.
Yeah, it's funny. People have been telling me that your voice sounds good on the air. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's I don't do anything to it. It's just me. So I was really happy about that. But yeah, so I've been really auditioning ever since. Booked some really cool things, had some really close calls to some really big things. But life throws you a curveball. I did some really cool stuff that didn't pan out, and you go back to the drawing board and you get in line with everybody else, and you start auditioning again, and you try to make it happen.
Yeah. What are some tips for people that like want to get started in acting or maybe starting to go to auditions or something?
I do mentor some kids, young adults, and I tell them, I says, you got to get headshots, figure it out, go online. You're going to spend between $300 and $600 somewhere in there. Have everybody look at them really careful, make sure they're done right. Make sure you go to a professional headshot guy. That's what they do. They don't take pictures of, ceiling tiles for a magazine. They take pictures. It's called a headshot. They take pictures of people's heads. And you get that done. And then, there's a lot of websites, backstage.com, actorsaccess.com. You put together a resume, and whatever's on your resume, that's it. I've worked with some kids who had nothing on their resume but their height, weight, eye color. And I was like, that's what your resume is. Let's see where it is in 6 months.
Yep.
And they had some natural ability and they booked some work. Then I recommend getting into some classes. There's some really wonderful classes out there. Now with the pandemic, you got to maybe choose a Zoom route. And it's tough right now. It's a good time to get in and a bad time. I think a lot of people have left the business, but a lot of rookies are hesitant to jump in because of the timing. But I think that's what you got to do. And then you got to meet people. You got to offer to work. If you hear about a production, offer your services to help out, hold wires. Just try to get involved with any kind of production and you'll learn. And then when the city opens up, you got to go into the city, take classes. You talk to other actors. You find out what's going on. You find out about this class, that audition, this audition. And then you sign up for the other services like backstage.com and Actors Access. And then, you got to get better as an actor by taking the classes. And I think most people get better. And then to be honest with you, it's a little bit like sports. You got to get it. You got to hit. You got to get hits. But sometimes you can be like 0 for 30 and then hit a big one. And you always hear about actors saying like, oh, I wasn't doing anything. I was ready to quit. Then I hit a big home run and now they're multimillionaires, I've been the more steady route, singles and doubles. Occasionally I do hit a home run though, but so that's pretty much what I've been doing. That's my friend Paul walking by me right there. But that's pretty much been it. So, but yeah, if you want to get in, I always tell people you'll regret it. If you're 23 years old and you want to go into acting and you don't do it when you're 40, you're gonna be like, I should have went. I should have did it.
I feel like that's like a really good philosophy for almost like anything, any like dream. Like you gotta kind of just get in. You gotta do what's necessary. Then you gotta work, pay your dues, and keep moving on.
Yeah, I mean, do it while you're young because life gets in the way. You start getting a wife involved or kids or a side job that turns into a full-time job. And next thing you know, your dream is goes out the window.
Yeah.
But if you're older, you can start doing it too. I mean,
Mhm.
whatever, you kind of got to go all in. What I noticed, I don't know, what do I know? I'm just a character actor, but if you don't go all in, you got to go all in sort of,
Yeah.
for a certain amount of time,
Mhm.
and see where it's at. And you got to listen to people, if you're not getting good feedback or you're not getting it going, um, that tends to, uh, you know, makes you feel like you're not doing well.
Yeah.
But that may not be true. You might just be 0 for 10, but hitting line drives the third, they're just, not getting through, and then you hit one
Yeah.
out. So
For
it's
sure. Yeah.
if you stay in as long as you can, I say. But if you start getting feedback that maybe you could be a writer or something else in the field, but not maybe an actor. I don't know.
For sure.
I've been blessed.
Yeah. So to talk to us about some of the home runs, like what are like some of the favorite roles that like you've had personally?
I think, well, I had three big things in my life that I had real, it's the big home runs, even though I was with a sketch group called Live on Tape, and that ended up being the name of our shows. It became and Artie Lang got Mad TV, and our group then got signed by NBC.
Mhm.
And we shot, it was like one of the more expensive late night pilots they ever shot at NBC. We shot it in the SNL studios. It was a big deal at the time. And, but different people took over the entertainment group, and our show got squeezed.
Mhm.
I think Lorne Michaels had a little something to do with that. He wanted nothing to do with us because we were, you know what I always say, and people listen, I'm not a cocky guy, but we were a damn good sketch group.
I could only imagine, and I would love to see some of that footage. I could only imagine.
Some of it's online. You can see it every now and then, but it's we were good. Not necessarily dated either. We didn't do anything current, nothing political, all original characters. Actually, I thought our show was great. I put our show up against any sketch comedy show, to be honest with you. So then I've also had, obviously Beer League was a big deal, but we chose the wrong distributor. They didn't know what to do with it. That got screwed up. When we shot the movie, Artie was on K-Rock, or not K-Rock, whatever that was. Yeah, K-Rock. Was it K-Rock? No, the other one. Whatever. It was on regular radio.
Yeah.
But then when the movie came out, when you really need to promote, Howard Stern was on Sirius Radio. And I don't care what anybody says. There was like 12 people listening to Sirius Radio back then, and 11 of them were truck drivers. Now, of course, it grew exponentially since Beer League.
Yeah.
But I thought the movie was funny. Then I've had, tons of, I did the movie The Family with DeNiro and Michelle Pfeiffer. That was a big deal. I had a really nice part in that, kind of one of the, I wasn't a lead, but I was the secondary lead.
Yeah, absolutely. What's it like working like on a set like that with like De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer?
It's crazy. We were like in this commune in France. I was in France for 6 weeks. We were on Luc Besson's estate, and it was wild because I ate dinner in a room, like 6 tables. I ate dinner every night with Tommy Lee Jones, De Niro, Michelle Pfeiffer, Luc Besson, Harvey Keitel stopped by a couple of nights.
So cool.
It was nuts. And then we all stayed together. So it was like a dream come true. I mean, I got to eat with these people and bust their chops and get to them. Like, hey, Bob, how you doing? Like if you were sitting at a table, they all came down to eat. And it was this beautiful estate north of Paris, not far from Normandy. And then De Niro sits at the table. Like, hey, Bob, how you doing? But inside, you're like, what am I doing? I'm having a glass of wine with Robert De Niro. That's insanity. And Dominic Lombardozzi was in it. Me and him, he's the guy from The Wire.
Yep.
And a bunch of other roles as well.
Yeah.
And me and him hit it off like 2 peas in a pod. He was really kind to me, and we hit it off. And but the movie didn't do well at the box office, so nobody cares. There's been a lot of stuff like that. You hit, probably the biggest thing I booked is in terms of one episodic would be the episode of Friends when Jennifer Aniston has the baby. I think like 30 million people watched that night. And that scene, as soon as I bring it up to any fan of the Friends and I tell them what episode, they're like, "Oh my God, you were the guy, you sick fat rat bastard," whatever my name was in the show. And so I also did a big episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yep.
And I also did a episode of ER, Entourage, little things like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, whenever like you pop up, I'm like, that's freaking Jimmy Palumbo, and it's like an Entourage selling the Sandy Koufax jersey.
Right. Ah, you're right. You remember the plot line. That's right.
But yeah, I'm a huge Entourage fan.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, like, I always say to people, I'm the guy leading off second when a guy hits the 2-run home run to win the game, but nobody cares that I slap the base hit to right field and start the rally.
No, man. Like I said, I'm like the biggest beer league fan. Like that's one of like my go-to comedy movies. It's like Superbad, Beer League, like Billy Madison, like all those are just like,
right.
Like that's like my humor. Like
you're putting Beer League high up the list, which I appreciate. But
oh my God, it's like when you find like those movies that are like your humor, it's like they just stick with you. So how did so would something like that come like into play? Was it like just like you and Artie Lang just kind of?
Well, it started out me, Artie Lang, and my friend Mike Ruane. Artie has started to make a few dollars, and we were going to do a short film. A lot of people were doing short films that you do the short film and you have the script set up so you could do the feature. That was the way to do it. But it was expensive back then. There was no cell phones, everything was like old school cameras. You had to rent everything, the lights, the whole bit. And we were sitting around, we were going through ideas, and I came up with the idea. I just said, what about all the ball breaking that goes on 15 minutes before a softball game?
Yeah.
And they were all like, that's it. So Artie wrote maybe 70% of this movie called Game Day. And my buddy Mike Ruane directed the whole thing. We shot it down in Florida in 2 days. It ended up costing us like $40,000. And it blew everybody away. People were really, you can see that if you Google Game Day and Artie Lang, you see it. And it blew a lot of people away. And we started working on the script for Beer League. Artie got in bed with this guy, Frank Sebastiano. Frank wrote this really funny script. Unfortunately, there was my buddy Mike Ruane, who did a lot of the work to get us there. Frank Sebastiano decided to direct the film. And that kind of screwed my buddy, if you want to put it that way. But so he was out, which was unfortunate. But I was able to stay on the train, and we shot Beer League. We got Ralph Macchio and one of other Artie's buddies, Michael Deege. So Game Day led directly. Without that DVD going into pitch meetings, without that DVD, I don't think we would have got the movie made. So I'm always proud of the work that we all did, including Artie, of course. Artie was the key element. Obviously, when you have at the time, Artie was really starting to become big. And that's always great to get into meetings when the guy's hot, So
yeah.
I just was like, it was like playing with Michael Jordan. Just dribble the ball down, get it to him, and just get out of the way,
Yeah, for sure. So what's like I can't even imagine like what like the set's like. It's got to be like almost like ball breaking 15 minutes.
People think that on Beer League, but Artie was coming off of the whole heroin thing, first bout with it, and believe it or not, Frank Sebastiano is a pretty straight guy. Like he's not. There wasn't as much hijinks going on.
Okay.
On the set as you think. There was certainly moments. I mean, it took me about 4 days. I started, breaking Ralph Macchio's balls a little bit. So that was fun. And I had my buddy Deej, who was my roommate in the city for a period of time. So we hit it off. But Artie was trying to just stay sober at the time.
Yeah.
We had some fun when the movie premiered in Vegas and stuff like that. So we had a lot of laughs with that kind of thing. So
I know.
It was, listen, I loved every minute of it. I've been playing softball with my dad for 100 years. I used to go as a little kid. He played every Tuesday night. Then I took over a team, and there's been a team since 1967 with my family's company name on it. And I stopped for 2 years because of the pandemic. And now I just started playing again.
Awesome.
And I am sore and tight and not doing well very depressing getting old and realize you can't quite do what you want to do. But I refuse to go out like this. I got to start getting in shape. I'm having a
I know you
year.
got to get back up to that 706, right?
Not even close. Matter of fact, I'm 0 for 11 on the
Oh
year.
no.
So I'm like frustrated. I hit a couple of balls nice today, but they were out. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Starting to feel it a little bit, but hey, 0 for 11, man. I stink.
No, we'll get back to that 706.
We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, Jimmy, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. This is a blast for me. It's like
thank you.
Absolute blast. And if there's anything I could help do, like promote your podcast or
send me your address. I'll send you it's the Jimmy Palumbo show on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and it's on the 365 it's on the Chop Sports Network. Chris and Dave run this really cool network of sports shows and shows like mine, and they just started out and they're growing. It's a lot of fun. So I'm on the Chop Sports Network, which is you can get it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put all
I'm
the
also
links.
on another show called the Interlocking NYs, the Rick and Jimmy show, and that's available at 365 sportsnet.com, as well as Spotify and all that. So
awesome.
Those are my two big plugs.
We'll have all the links in the description or wherever anybody's listening to this. And then also make sure you follow Jimmy on Instagram. And
I got Instagram and Twitter and all that. And I wish I was a little better at all that. Some of the kids are like lightning at it.
Yeah.
I should hire you to do my social media.
I do that. Actually, that's what I do for a living. So if you want to talk, we could definitely talk.
Let's talk about that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Well, sadly, you'll be making a very small living.
All right. Well, this has been a freaking blast for me. Thank you again for coming on. Everybody else, make sure you go listen to Jimmy's podcast, follow him on social media, and we will catch you guys in the next episode. Ciao.
You got it.